Hello and welcome to PPC Live, the podcast. I'm your host, Anu, the founder of PPC Live. And we are used to hearing advice from PPC experts about how to ensure that we are keeping up with the ever-changing landscape. Don't worry, you are still in the right place. Every week, I speak to a different PPC expert about their biggest F-up, something that still makes their skin crawl a little bit, thinking of the fact that at some point in their career, they made this mistake. But these are people who are heads of agencies, founders, directors, successful consultants. So this is something that did nothing to harm their career. They learned from it, and now they're coming on the show to tell you about what they learned from it so that you don't make the same mistake again. So yeah, today we speak to Zora Strong, a very, very strong name, right? She shares like an F-up that she made several years ago that was more on the lines of like winning a new client, trying to make that quick win happen because, of course, the previous agencies, did a big mess up, and that's why they left the previous agencies. And they found like the quick win to make, but unfortunately, that quick win ended up being a bit of a quick mess. But also, it was really great to hear her story about all the people that supported her, even when she was away on holiday during the, crawling back from that mistake. So yeah, let's go speak to Hannah. Hello, Hannah. Welcome to PPC Live, the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's such a delight. Like, yeah, it's so great. You're going to be rounding up I believe it's going to be like the fourth one for like, Women History Month. Or maybe it's the week after. Maybe it's just going to be early April that we're going to be doing that. Because, we said just before this, there's so many fantastic women in our fields. They're doing amazing work, but we're all fallible to mistakes. We're all susceptible to doing things that make us go, okay, I will never do that again. And Hannah is going to be joining us to share one of those lovely stories to do that. So who's Hannah? Hannah is a PPC specialist with over 14 years of experience. She's helped brands with local customers to get from their Google ads and LinkedIn advertising. So when you have a client objective or there's a mix of lead gen, commerce, or footfall, she works with monthly budgets of about 2 to 20K to help those kind of clients to ensure they're meeting their right targets. As a freelancer who is helping several clients, even a couple of agencies, the services she provides, include Google Ads management, as well as LinkedIn ads and consultancy, audits, training, and power hours. So you just need like that second pair of eyes to ensure that you're on the right path of your account management. She's the one to call. And now, one of my favorite bits, fun fact. So yeah, Hannah, share your fun fact with our fantastic audience.
Hello. So I'm based in Newcastle, live about 10 minutes from the coast. And when I'm not managing PPC accounts or mothering my two children, I will often be found in the North Sea, just having a sea dip. And if the cold isn't for you, then there's also a beach sauna option afterwards.
Yes.
So
yes, I was telling Hannah before, she had me at beach sauna, lost me at cold plunge. And I'm like, I love the way that even in the warm areas, our gym, they announced to us like, oh, we're gonna offer cold plunge soon. And I'm like, okay,
cool.
good, yeah, good for
Not
you.
for me.
Good for you. Your people. So look, yeah, the people who I love warm swims. I love the Mediterranean Sea to swim in. That is my love to do. And Newcastle is quite up north because you've been part of the PPC Live as well community for a long while now. Really grateful for that. But like, you're quite up north, aren't you? That's north. What are the events that are around that area?
So there's SEM Stories.
Yes.
SEM Stories was launched back in like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
I think there's the third one coming up in May of this year.
Yes.
There's Atomicon's quite big for the general marketing and mostly like self-employed consultant community.
Nice.
But PPC, I know PPC Live's come to like Leeds and to Manchester, and there's obviously Performance Manchester, which Charlie's done a great job of like putting the North on the map.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's the odd search marketing event up here, but yeah, it's usually down south as well.
Yeah. Do you ever come south where like to some of the
Occasionally. I'm saying before, I'm going to the Digital Marketing Union.
Nice.
Next week, I've obviously been to Brighton SEO and I spoke at HeroConf last year.
Nice.
So I try and get around, but as I say, just working from my garden office very far north, and my two
Yeah.
kids are 4 and 6. So it's like
Yes.
they don't quite understand why I'm going away sometimes.
Yeah.
Even when if it's just to like dip in the sea to have some silence, the sea is great. Or
Right?
whether it's to listen to like, the best in the biz, share their
Yeah.
latest tips,
Yeah.
both are great.
Yeah. No, amazing. You work hard in terms of like, yeah, doing that networking and sharing with, others. So that's fantastic. And we'll get into, where can we can hear your amazing insights later on. But yeah, let's get into the crux of the story. We know what we're here for. We're here to hash, an F up that happened that, makes some of our guests still go like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. So I'm really, really grateful that Hannah is like, yeah, the latest on the long list of people who have been very gracious to share their stories. So yeah, let's take it away. Hannah, what's the F up you'd like to share with us today?
So I class myself as quite an old lady at PPC. I've been in the business for 14 years now, self-employed for 4. So the F up I'm going to share will cast you back to OGs of PPC will remember this very bid strategy of like more manual bidding days. Do we all remember those?
Calendar.
Um, so I was actually at my first marketing agency, and I've recently been promoted to head of department. So
Mm,
I'm still working on some accounts, managed a team. Happy Days was looking after the big books, the big clients. And we signed a new client that was a car dealership on the Tuesday. And I was heading on holiday with my parents on the Friday. And you know what clients are like? They want immediate results. And as
yeah.
a young gun in the industry, I wanted to make a good impression,
Mm,
super early
mm,
days, and, implement the quickest of quick wins. But my F up was that I was a bit too hasty with my mass edit that I did on the bid strategy. And it ultimately caused the client to have a bit of a panic.
yeah.
And for the agency director to call me at the airport to be like, "What have you done?" So yeah, that was not ideal. Like in front of my parents. I think I
My
was about
God. Oh my
25 at the
gosh.
time. So I was still getting told off in front of my parents about work. I was like, "Oh no, this isn't great." But basically, so I worked with this car dealership, and their conversion was viewing a vehicle page, a vehicle display page view, so a VDP view. And they had managed this internally for the last million years. And I was the first time they'd like kind of gone out to an agency. So it was like, I couldn't be too critical of the account because I didn't
Mm,
want to like poo poo what they'd done already.
mm,
But anyway, went into the account and noticed that 90% of the keywords were set to below first page bid. So, like any good advertiser, I'm like, oh, that just won't do. We need to be, further up um, the ad position, RIP, when we could still see that. And I selected all and said, yeah, we'll whack them up. We'll whack all those bids up as you would, because you want to maximize your impressions and your clicks and your click through rate for the client naturally. So did that. And it was like I'd dropped a bomb and left, to be honest, because I did that and then went on holiday. And then this is when the angry phone call from the ops director arrived and was like, "Oh my God, the client's kicking off because their cost per conversion's gone from like 20p to about £2, all because I'd just blanket up the bids."
yeah.
So
Yeah. Lord, and it wasn't yeah, it was one of those things that what you like selected maybe like 100 keywords and then just did change from that to that. So it's
yeah,
not even something that even took you too long to do. It's a change that happened in
but
minutes. Oh
like it came
Lord.
from the best place because I was like, well,
Absolutely.
obviously you do that. Just like, I did that from all the other accounts. It had
Yeah.
totally worked. Why would
Yeah.
this be the wrong thing to do?
Yeah.
But it turns out that the client had manually chosen to keep those cost per clicks at like 6-7 pence
Mm.
in the expectation that the conversion rate would be 20 to 25%. So a VDP would be kind of 20 to 30 pence,
Yeah.
not £1 to £2.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that wasn't great. And then so my second in command had to go back and manually make those changes
Yeah.
because even in change history, there wasn't like an undo button. I know there is for some
Yeah.
changes, but
Now there
not for
is.
this one apparently. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was their job while I
To
was.
manually do that. Now, I actually do like sitting while listening to me editing past episodes. I tend to do the whole well, the client should have XYZ. And I'm like, why didn't the client let you know that they were like, by the way, we want these bids low?
Mm,
What do you feel like was because how involved were you in the onboarding of this client? And was there comms that just didn't happen that, prevented you from knowing the point of that bid
so
strategy?
we didn't we had like the objective, I guess, was just to increase views.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there wasn't like a set cost per click target. There wasn't a CPA target.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, oh, the bids aren't being aggressive enough, which is impacting click through rate, will be impacting, quality score, which will be impacting the account health. Let's fix this first and then work on, pausing the keywords or doing all the bits later to improve the CPA. So in my head, I was just trying to get the ads in front of as many people as possible, as high up the search results as possible, naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't like, if there was a CPA target of 30 pence and Google was saying, oh yeah, this bid needs to be 50p, to be on the first page bid, then I would have been like, oh, okay, there's maths to do here. Let's not do that. But yeah, because it was just to get more,
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily put two and two together at that point and
Yeah.
think about the risk of making that change.
Yeah. I mean, genuinely, I can't help but do the whole, if clients are listening, any clients that are listening, be as open and transparent with the targets and what you've done and why you did certain things, because it's a bit rude for you to ask your client, hey, why did you do this? That's you want to be like,
Yeah.
they probably know what they're doing. These are people, they so I don't know. Like, yeah, there's I think you get a lot of clients who are like, yeah, paid set experts, they'll know. They'll know. We can't read people's minds. We can't read our clients' minds. And if it's not in black and white and it's not in the comms that we've had with the client, there's some things that we can't assume. And so yeah.
We'll just blame the sales team. We'll just blame the onboarding process. It wasn't the
Yeah.
client like just micromanaging their CPCs at all. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't
No.
me.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but like, but like in your mind, I mean, I was like, I have a few thoughts. Some might seem to be obvious, they're probably not obvious, but this is the point to have these conversations. What was missed that, that you feel like you didn't do, if you look back in retrospect of like, oh, if I had done this, I could have really avoided this mistake from my end.
I think it would have been a target,
Yeah.
having a target CPA to be like, we can scale up, but this is the cap. Because
Yeah.
I think at that moment, I would have realized that if we increase all the bids, actually traffic's going to drop by three quarters, because if we 3x the bids, then naturally we're not getting as much traffic and we can't scale as quickly.
Yeah.
But I think in my early days as a keen PPCer, I was just like even running blind to just make a big impact really quickly to show, yeah, better click through rate. And before I'd even like checked the ad copy and everything else, it was just like, it seemed like the quickest win,
Yeah.
get more eyes on the brand. And ultimately, yes, everybody wants conversions and leads, but there is that, impressions and brand awareness that people want as well. And I think this is harming. So it came from a good place. It was just, yeah, the action was not in line with the end goal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I also like, bringing like the human perspective of these stories of, you have someone shouting at you while you're at the airport on your way to go on a holiday. And my thought is that really the best way to approach it? You've had different experiences. You've managed people, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was managing a team at this point. Yeah.
You were managing the team, so even then, you were managing the team at this point, and you've managed others. Where what was your manager a bit too harsh with you? Like, who was it that was calling you? Was it the client themselves, or it was your
It
agency?
was the agency ops
Okay.
director. So yeah, he would have been like the interceptor between me and the client. So I had direct client comms as well, obviously, but he would have had the anchor client on the phone to be like, why have my cost per conversion shot up? And then he rang me to find out why.
Yeah.
And
What
then
did
obviously
what
how I fixed it because he's not a PPCer, so he was like,
nah,
"How do we fix it
yeah,
ultimately?"
yeah. And because I feel like just shouting at someone who's about to go on holiday, even when they've made a mistake, that's not a nice thing to do. I mean, like at the end of the day, as we've said, the whole point to even to reiterate to people about all the people I've interviewed on this show is the fact that we're not saving lives here. It's not the things that are not the end of the world. You know, you did something that could be reverted. Had you blown up their like their month's budget kind of thing in a way? What's in terms
No,
of
the budgets were still set. They had like caps. I think back in the day, Google could only spend over like 20% as opposed to over 100% of the daily budget. So it was like it was not mission critical. We could
yeah
still, although manually, the changes could still be undone, and then we could crack on. I think it did take a couple of weeks for the CPCs to kind of settle back down because it had that huge blip, and then obviously the data was trying to get involved and do its own thing. But yeah, I think because it was the biggest client the agency had had, it was a multi-service client as well. So they had like I think they were getting a bit of CRO and a bit of SEO from the
yeah.
agency as well, and it was like this early error could have sullied the relationship and the trust in
Mm,
the agency, which I get, which is obviously their frustration. And because they didn't know PPC themselves, they didn't realize if this was like one change that was gonna F things up for months. Like just think
yeah
about an SEO change, for example.
yeah
You know, could it be undone as quickly as it could? And I don't think he knew that the benefit and curse of PPC is that it can move very quickly.
yeah.
So once the fix was implemented and things did settle, things were okay and the
Okay,
client
let me
trust was
calm down.
regained and we went on
Fantastic.
to have a long, successful relationship. And I left the agency before the client left, like a
Right.
couple of years later. So I didn't do anything long term to damage that AD agency's reputation and my own.
Fantastic.
It
Fantastic.
was it was just like a really hairy week
Yeah.
of onboarding
Yeah. Yeah.
crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and because I do tend to like also in these stories that we speak to the managers of someone who has made a mistake and do the whole how do you deal with that? So, as someone now who's managed people then and since then, what could the person who called you to have a go at you, what could he have done differently?
Think possibly talking to my senior, my second in command first to be like, let's have a look at the changes that were made. Why do you think kind of made that change? And how quickly will it take to fix it?
Yeah.
And then that should direct the level of emotion or the output to me. Because like you say, it's PPC, not A&E. And we're selling cars, not saving the world. So actually, can we just, I know it's different because the client is like, it's their
Yeah.
baby, it's their business. So you have
Yeah.
to treat it like it's the
Yeah.
only client we work
Yeah.
with. But they were swift, to be fair to the agency, they swiftly got my second in command in front of the client to explain what had happened and why I'd done it. Because I trained them. So we had the same thought process. If he could see why I made this change
Nice.
and how it could be fixed. And it was sort of contained. I
Nice.
just think my initial ops director was mimicking or echoing the client emotion to me
Yeah.
because obviously he was the gatekeeper. He got it in the net from the client, not me. So he would have been passing on that the urgency and
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
upsetness, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like
Absolutely.
20, well, I was like 24, 23, 24 at the time.
Wow.
I was like super fresh in the game, really. And had the client's best interests at heart, but just had an F up.
Yeah. And how did you feel? How did it make you feel? Like even when you'd heard
That
it?
I didn't want to come home. I could have just lived in Jersey. That's where I was going with mum and dad. I could have just stayed there because I knew I would have had to clean it up when I got back.
Yeah.
And I knew I would have to face my manager and obviously the client and feel sorry for them. But also when you make a mistake as a manager in front of your team, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, are they going to trust me to
Yeah.
train them? And I was then worried that my credentials with them had been lost as
Self
well
up.
because so obviously there's like the vulnerability. It's like even managers make mistakes, and like as someone who's older than the twos, I can have that for you now. But at the time, I was like really embarrassed that the head of department had made this such easy mistake.
Yeah. 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 No. Oh gosh. And also, because I feel that there've been several folks, and I think I probably even know the answer to this. Like there were several folks that someone that person was angry, client wasn't sure. Who impressed you? Who kind of in that situation made you go, "My God, I'm glad I have this person on my team."
It was David. It was my second in command, David Martin, because he saved my bacon. He saved the day. He revived the account. I was away for the week, so he undid the change and managed the client relationship. So yeah, did the management, did the kind of trust rebuilding, and yeah, he had a lot of experience on that account. Obviously, when I got back, he had more than me because it
Yeah.
was so new. So it was really nice to have someone to bounce ideas off, because in that agency structure, you had your group of clients and that was it. Even as the head of department, I'm obviously looking after all the accounts, but had like my core few. And it was nice not to feel lonely at the top, because
Yes.
before I might have been a bit scared to ask my team for advice or bounce ideas, because it's like, oh, I'm the head of department, I should know. When
Yeah.
actually sometimes you just need some PPC pals to bounce ideas off and validate what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Was that like a personal hire that you hired him on, like, or is it just someone that was on the team and you just build a great relationship with
Yeah,
like
just
that?
someone that I think I wasn't hiring at that time. I was sort of internally promoted, so we were all on the team
Yeah,
together. So I feel like we'd risen through the ranks and kind of like
nice.
been in the trenches together, which is sort
Yes.
of, and we're still friends today. Like we're still
Oh,
like
nice.
when I went on maternity leave, I had a couple of clients and I gave my clients to him because he's since gone freelance as well. So even that was like 6 years ago. So that trust from that initial mishap on my
Yeah.
part has then forged the friendship
Yes.
for the
Yes.
last decade.
Yes, we need that. I think because sometimes it can be hard to be like, you don't know who to trust. Can be a competitive space. It's a competitive space. It's very like, yeah, I'm the one that wants to be the account manager and an account director, and only one person and a team of people can do it. Even if finding one or two people who will have your back, who kind of both of you kind of think the same way. And not even necessarily even think the same way, but like both of you are willing to listen to each other's so that you're making each other better and that they
So
can step
important. Yeah.
in. It's really important because what can be, and it's not like if he stepped in and then became head of the team, was it?
No, no. I still
Yeah.
kept the title, but it just we kind of respected each other. And I think it actually brought the team a lot closer, because
Nice.
we could be like, oh, let's share a challenge and then let's fix it all together. And I would bring a challenge then, instead of just having to be like the fixer,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we all have
We
challenges
all
and that's
have
okay.
challenges. Now that's good because, you hear about the stories of like, one person went on holiday, they makes the mistake, and then the person who fixes it now becomes the head of the team because they're like, oh yeah, you're the one that we can trust now, and so yeah, it's really great to know that you have that trust and people have your back to step in for you, but also see how your role is still secure when you get back. That's fantastic. So also just now going into if you have an advice. Someone has gone through that mistake. They're, they with the best of intention, they've made a bulk change, and all of a sudden their phone is ringing with somebody that never calls them. And they know they're about to be yelled
Block,
at.
block.
What's the advice? Apart
Don't
from
block
block,
your managers, guys. Don't block your managers. You didn't hear that from me. That wasn't from me.
we'll edit that out. No, like
Said it was okay. Hannah said it was okay.
no,
Just know that.
but like, yeah, generally, like, what's your advice to someone? Okay, not like the phone call, but kind of like in the inkling of their mind, that something has gone up. Maybe one of their teammates DMs them on a Slack on the WhatsApp, going, "Oh my God, it's kicking off." What's your advice to that person who's made that mistake?
So most things in PPC are fixable. I would remember that. And just as the system is quick to adapt to new changes, it's also quick to adapt back if needs be. Not every optimization is going to be for the best. And in my case, just because I thought implementing this kind of mass change was best practice, it didn't mean it was best practice for this client. And I think, especially people who've been doing this for years and years, you kind of have a formula of what works for the majority of clients. So it would be easy to go into a brand new account and be like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. I'll change that, change that, change that, because it's always like your way of doing things. When actually just taking a step back and looking at the account, but also the wider business, just to understand, does this change actually work for this client? Because that's what I bouldered in with. I just went in with like, oh, I'll make this quick change because it's worked for all my other accounts. Can't see a reason why it wouldn't work for this one. And then it all blew up in my face. So I think it was a combination of client targets and me making that kind of best practice optimization blindly, when I could have thought about, is this the best fit for this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's yeah, just about taking the think, have a thought through the process, before you start making any changes. And like we're gonna now talk about we're next gonna talk about like AI stuff and or mistakes that you've seen other accounts make. But before we go into that bit, what's one final takeaway you want people listeners to take from the story you just shared?
Probably don't make mass changes. No, not that one. Yeah, just taking a time to think, does this best practice work for every
Yeah.
single account is probably the one.
Yeah. Yeah. Best practices are not best practices for every account, right? It's not, you really need to consider that. Okay. So since that your lovely young self or being in your 20s, I'm sure you've seen others also, taking on accounts and being like, what the heck? Why are people still making these kind of changes? And let's even get more recent into maybe in the past 6 months, in the last 8 months, what are some F ups or like just mistakes or just things that people are still doing that you're shocked that it's a clear, okay, no, that's the wrong way of doing it. That needs to change. And when you've changed it, things have gotten better. What are mistakes that you're seeing?
I have one example where I didn't know if the client was going to laugh or cry or run or what or run. When you said that, I was like, this is a perfect example.
Okay.
So when I was still employed, I took on a client like freelance. So I worked with these guys like 6, 7 years ago, and they were a mortgage broker client, and they just specialised in like supporting local people. So we had a like Northumberland down to North Yorkshire, Cumbria, Tyne and Wear, so like very northeast, very north based. And we worked together for a couple of years. Performance was okay. The cost per lead was my KPI. It was okay. And then after a couple of years, they moved to a different agency. So obviously moved from me to an agency because they must have thought, oh, we're growing spend now. Perhaps we need to work with a bigger team. And this agency specialized in financial services. Again, it's fine. I kind of said, right, that's absolutely fine, guys. Handed the account over. No bother. And first of all, red flag is they paused the campaigns, fair enough. But then they started a new account. Flag for, yeah, I know, right? And a new J4 actually for, don't. Yeah, 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 same website. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So that was a bit wild. I think they did a bit of like CRO as well. So they might have designed some splash pages and stuff. Also fine, on the client's domain. Crack on. Yeah. And so that all happened. And then I had a call with them. They got back in touch with me in September. And they were like, oh, things aren't going too well with this agency. They were at first, so now they're not. Can you take a look at the account? So we like jumped on said, oh, the lead quality's been really rubbish. Anyone who's like inquired, we've tried to call back and haven't been able to get in touch, and they haven't been a good fit. I was like, right, okay. So I'd gotten the account. It'd been recording conversions, about 600 odd over the year. I think the client had spent like 12 grand or something across the year. So it had like a weight of spend. And it turns out they hadn't had a single qualified lead. I was like, but you spent like 12 grand and you've had 600 conversions. Like, are you recording page views? Are you recording like contact page views and not actual submissions? And they were like, no, we're getting the leads through. It's just when we try and contact them through like phone or email or whatever, we can't get back in touch. And I was like, what is going on here? We went on, and we were live on this like screen share with the client. It wasn't even like a formal kickoff at this point. It was just like another intro chat. And I was like, oh, share your screen. Oh, look at this. Click here, click here. And what they'd done was instead of targeting just Northumberland, North Yorkshire, Cumbria, and Tyne-and-Wear and County Durham, they were targeting the whole of the UK with those counties excluded, which is what my brain did as well.
So literally, where all the places where they should be getting customers, they were not. Those guys were not seeing their ads at all.
Yeah, it was the opposite. It was literally they were excluding them. And so I because it was their screen share, I was like, oh, click here, click here, click here. And then when it dropped down to that, I was like, oh, maybe they've got like presence and interest turned on or something. But no, the whole thing was excluded. And we all kind of sat there and I was like, how are they going to react to know that that money is now being wasted, and all of the efforts and all of the times they've said, this is our audience, this is our market, this is our ICP, have been completely ignored.
Nice.
So we're all a bit stunned. I
Yeah.
was like, didn't know whether to laugh or cry on their behalf. They did take it gracefully, but I was like, sweet Jesus, are they going to now have a chat with the agency to be like, this is mismanagement, this is neglect?
Yeah. Yeah, guys. Yeah. And how long ago was this?
So they were running that account for the year, but I think they had run other campaigns. I just looked at the data for one of the campaigns over
But
the
like,
year.
how recent was this?
I had the call with them in September, and I've started working with them again in January, just to like, So they've now onboarded with me again, and we're sorting it out and making sure the location settings are correct.
And so like going back to that question I asked, mistakes that like how can this happen? Location targeting, we've been doing this since 2000s. Like, well, like as long as we've been doing Google ads and is it Google? It's Google ads that AdWords. AdWords was what we used to
Google
call it.
AdWords. Whoa, throwback.
Location targeting has always been a thing, and guys, look at that location targeting. And I look shocked, but actually, one of our previous guests has said that. I think that was actually one of her stories of like, instead of actually selecting the location she just selected UK and actually excluded the areas that she actually wanted to select. Oh, she excluded UK. But even though she selected the thing, because she excluded UK, thinking that she was like, okay, not all of UK, just her thing. But the system was like, it excluded UK, including the targeting areas she wanted to. So it wasn't no volume. So be wary about those kind of things. What's your advice in terms of avoiding that kind of mistake?
I think for my client, even though this agency obviously specialised in financial services, they didn't specialise in local. And like for me, that's like my big thing of check this first, because again, I see so many clients wasting budget and misclicks to presence and interest targeting when it isn't a good fit, or like wild exclusions, not excluding by city or by county as part of like optimizations and stuff. There's so many quick wins to like save that money and tell Google where to refunnel it. I just feel like it's such an underutilized setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Always look at those even like the default settings, what they are, what location targeting. Make sure you're targeting the right area. With those companies like small budgets, it's what really can make or break a campaign. How about in the terms of like our wonderful world of AI where we cannot avoid, what are things that get people that you feel like getting wrong in terms of like using AI?
I've seen even ad copy that's not checked. I know that Google's getting better at scraping or understanding what's on the landing page in terms of like USPs, call to actions, key messages and whatnot to then present it. But I've seen having too much on us and too much trust in the Google platform to pull everything correctly. So like I've seen incorrect business names, or not like the customer facing business names obviously being uploaded because it was the parent company name and not theirs, and that kind of distinction in the ad copy looked a bit weird. And I still feel settings like AI Max and search expansion do bring in very, very fringe terms. When give it a few years, it's like PMAX. When that first came out, it got absolutely slated because it was like broad times broad. Like there was sometimes no method to the madness.
No.
And I feel like these tools are only going to get better with time. I do trust that
Sure.
they will, but the initial launch of them is often met with great expectations, but low actual results.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And talk about AI Max. Have you tested it?
I haven't had, I've had one client that's had the perfect storm of decent lead volume and not limited by budget and using
Yeah.
broad match already and,
Okay.
for other search campaigns that have felt like it's a good one to test with. But then we started to test it and then budgets got rained back. I was like, oh, right, okay. So we've ran this for
Okay.
a month and then it was a bit of a false start.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you heard
No,
much
well, yeah,
from it?
no, I don't manage accounts, so like it's just that I'm doing the asking about, like just seeing what the test results are, and people are finding success with it. Some people are finding like in the high historics episode, which is the one just before this one, or a couple ones before this one's. Yeah, she said that she's tested about 50 accounts on it, and it's like 2/3 are working well. So
Mm.
yeah, if you have the budget, if you have the like, yeah, perfect storm of like, yeah, all the different levers, broad match is being used. You have like, good structure. Plus, probably more like if you're a retail client, is probably what I hear
Yeah, it's
that's
for e-com for
working.
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to hear from folks. Please comment in there's like I'm gonna put a poll in this for this episode. So please check out that poll of me. I'll ask whether people are using it. If you're using it, is it working? Let us know. And maybe you're the one that I speak to next on our podcast episode, which would be really great. But yeah, that has been fantastic. Like, we've gone through that fantastic story. We've shared our experience about location setting errors that we should be aware of, AI world. So yeah, Hannah, thank you so much. You've given so much insight and so much food for thought for our listeners. But before we leave you, our last question. I'm not sure if you saw this on the list. Is a guest favorite of like a fun one to just ask. If your career were a movie, what would the title be?
Oh my God. I don't watch a lot of films.
Oh,
Can you tell? So
oh,
I don't know.
or it could be one of your kids' TV shows, right?
Yeah, I was like, it'll be like Moana because I'm just trying to like get back to the sea and not actually be in front of my computer.
Dude, I'll take that. I take that. I love Moana. I know there's a part two. I've not watched it yet. And I keep thinking, do I want a part two of it? I love it. I watched it on a plane and all of a sudden, because I had
It's
wasn't
good.
like, it's
The
nice.
songs are okay, not as banging as the first one,
Okay.
but like here we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, Moana. That's a lovely one. Yeah. Moana is a good one. Good movie. And yeah, Hannah, if people want to hear about the next maybe event or conference you're going to speak at, or you just want to share some, amazing insights that you've got for us, where can people find you?
so I'm mostly on LinkedIn. Hannah Zora Strong. You will find me. I'm the only Zora floating about the internet. I'm also speaking at AdWorld conference in October of this year
Italy.
in
Nice.
Bologna, yes,
Yeah.
alongside Jill.
Yeah.
So I'm like really excited for that to meet her finally and to share my love of local with everybody. Really bad management on my part. I'm also speaking in Turkey the same month.
That's in
Speaking
October,
at,
isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
yep, I'm going to Search and Stuff
Yeah.
to they're running a June conference in London, and then this is their kind of wider European version. So can catch me there as well. But yeah, the conferences are about a week apart, so no pressure to
Wow.
me in October.
Wow.
Find me in November. To be honest,
Are you
just
gonna just
recovering.
are you just gonna go from Turkey to Bologna, or you're gonna stop over?
Wish I did that. I think I've got about 4 days at home, and then I'm bouncing to the next one. So my kids will be like, "Where's she going
It's done
now?"
again.
Yeah, sorry. Worth it
Oh,
though.
bless. So yeah, it's absolutely gonna be worth it. I've done Bologna, I've done Italy. It's fantastic. You will love it. They've got the conference was definitely great, but the food. Sorry, the food. Bologna food would be better. Even I've gotta say. I've
Yeah.
gotta say. Oh, that'd be amazing. Well, if you guys are in anyone listening, you're either going to be in Turkey, you're either going to be in Bologna, or you just want to hear from Hannah on LinkedIn. Well, we've given you all those like resources, the links. I'll give you the direct links in our show notes. So go to the show notes to get the direct links to get your tickets to those events so that you can check her out. But till then, thank you, Hannah, so much for joining us on the episode. And yeah, we'll catch up later.
you.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for that fantastic and transparent retelling of the story of discovering that mistake as you're going off on holiday and having the feeling that you don't even want to come back to your desk. But yeah, remember, like guys, having a good team. Having a great team in this world of, working in digital marketing, working in agency, even as a consultant, even as a freelance, having someone who's reliable to work with, it's something that previous of our guests have said about how the good relationship with someone, whether it was the client or their teammate, really was the key in ensuring that that mistake did not, blow up their career, and they were able to come back to their team having really had their back, even though the mistake happened while they were away. Yeah, Interpol also, Interpol Ride, a previous guest, also mentioned that about a mistake happening, and his team really sorted it out, and he came back and his job was still safe. So yeah, have a good team, surround yourself with good people. So yeah, for all the information and the full transcript as well as show notes and everything, please go to podcast.ppc.live and you'll get the full details of this episode. Regarding our PPC Live updates, yeah, tickets are live. There's no more early bird sale, but yeah, we've got our full list of speakers now announced. We've got Jack Wilmore from We Discover, we've got Emina Demiri from Vixen Digital, who are based in Brighton, and we've got the fantastic Julia Rimmel, who's coming all the way from Germany. So I stuck to the international speaker because we had Kirk Williams, but he had to pull out because unfortunately, yeah, he had family commitments. So we replaced that with another fantastic speaker. Julia has spoken at SMX Advance in Berlin and Munich, and to fantastic, feedback. And yeah, she's the growth director of Precis. And yeah, it really helps with their growth. And she's really going to help to talk about ensuring that you're not just doing, finger in the air to decide how you're going to put budgets across your different channels. So yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that. So sorry, we gave you as much as we could in terms of discounted tickets. And yeah, several people took advantage of that. They took advantage of us. But now it's full price tickets for these three amazing speakers, where we're going to meet in Brighton across having fantastic views. It's going to be a third floor, I believe, venue. So you're going to have fantastic views of the Brighton Sea. It's a location that is on that road that's just on the other side of the river, so you're gonna have fantastic views. But yeah, we're gonna make sure you need to be paying attention to our speakers. The views are for the networking time, which we'll have plenty of, as well as a panel discussion where it's going to be the PPC Live team meeting and getting everyone involved in what we're doing, and, helping each other out and uplifting each other. So yeah, go to ppc.live for your tickets and make sure that you join us on April the 29th for that. And before I leave you, I am delighted to share that I am taking on coaching clients. So yeah, if you're just having a bit of confidence issues, you want to ask for that promotion, ask for that pay rise. I'm someone who has successfully done that and paved the way for my career, confidently knowing what direction it's going in. And so if you want that level of confidence, yeah, get in touch with me. Just go to themarketinganu.com. You will be able to book a free 15-minute discovery call so that we ensure that we go on a journey that works for you, that is particular to what your needs are. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I look forward to bringing more PPC F-ups and triumphs next week. Thank you. Bye.